Welcome back to the channel. Today we will take a look at my Neovim config files because I've recently made some changes in the repository and I've got some questions from you guys about the key bindings, some of the plugins and tools I'm using, maybe to explain a little bit of my workflow. And I thought I will do that very briefly today. And as you can see, I'm already inside Neovim. And this is the startup screen. You're greeted with a quote over here and some of the basic options. Now, as you can see, you have here telescope key bindings, and you can either use the key bindings. For example, I press E to open a new file, or I press Q to quit, like that. Or you can just use or go to the option and press enter, like that. For example, find word. This will open live grab, and then you can search for a word, for example, I3. And as you can see, it will find all the files in which I3 was found, like that. Now, of course, for example, in Rust, I32 is a data type, so it will find that too. If I, for example, want to find my I3 config, I can just go to find file or "-ff, and I type I3. And as you can see, the first result is my I3 config. And here you have a nice file preview. And by the way, you can press escape and then just use the normal Vim key bindings. For example, K to go up, J to go down. I can go to the first result by typing GG, or to the last one by typing capital G. So these are the normal Vim key bindings you can use in there. And if you press enter, you will automatically enter the file and you can start editing, as you can see. Now, this startup screen is a fork of mine. I forked the Alpha Neovim plugin. As you can see, this is the original one. You can also use this one as you like, but I've basically just took this dashboard and Vim theme and I have made it a little bit more Aeroforest theme compatible, so it fits very nice with your Aeroforest Arch configuration. That's why I have made a fork, and you can use that using Packer, Pack, or really any other Vim plugin manager. And if you're actually using my dot files, as you can see over here, if you're using them, you will automatically have them, because inside the Neovim plugins, as you can see, this is my fork of the Alpha Neovim startup screen. So you can use that, you can use the original one as you like. Now, let's see. Let's open up a new file. For example, the I3 config. And let's, for example, say I want to edit this. And I need some color from there over here. Now it's pretty annoying to just scroll up and down all the time. So what you can actually do is do a V split. So this will vertically split your Vim instance. So this is exactly the same file, but you can scroll in there. And as you can see, I'm now here at the bottom of my file, and here I'm at the top. So you can edit very nicely. You can use more splits. For example, I now have splitted this window. These are now two different windows, as you can see. And of course, this is all the same file. Now you can use the mouse to navigate, or you can use the normal key bindings using Control J, K to go up and down, and L, H to go left and right, as you can see. And I can quit out of them all using QA, quit all. And yeah. And as you can see, I have here recently opened files. So if I type RF for recent files, as you can see, the last file I've opened is the iTray config file. I can go there and just start editing again. Now, maybe you have noticed there is an option called bookmarks, and bookmarks, I don't use them a lot really, but they can be useful. So for example, you can add a mark here by typing MM, and as you can see, it gave a mark. And if I quit out of Neovim and I restart and I type "FM", it will open up all the bookmarks I have made. So as you can see, I only have one, and it's the one I have done some seconds ago. So if I press enter, I'm exactly on this line. Now you can also type MI, and then you can enter here an annotation. So for example, I3 not key. Press enter, and as you can see, you have this icon over here. And if I go out and again jump to bookmarks, FM, as you can see, it even gives me this annotation I have made. So you know why did you mark this line over here. You can go to it directly. Now MC to clean the bookmarks in this buffer, or you can use MX to delete all the bookmarks. Like that. As you can see, if I type FM, now it gives me no bookmarks because I've deleted it. So that's one thing. And of course, for example, if you're in a file, you can also use this one. So I will make a bookmark over here and type "FM", and as you can see, even in a file, and you can use this telescope command. So you can use it anywhere inside Neovim. Alright, now let me see. I want to show you some of the key bindings, and I always say the best way to learn the key bindings is just looking inside your config file or setting your own key bindings. So if I am in this file, I will make it full screen. So I'm in this file, and as you can see, we have here some key bindings. For example, you will go to a line in which there is an error or a warning or something like that, and you press space E, and then it will give you some information for the diagnostic. So why is this variable here underlined like that? And you can press space E for error, I guess, and then it will give you the warning. And it's basically just the same as it is over here, but sometimes these are very long, so you have to just do space E, and then it will give you a float like that. Now in a file where you have some of the errors, as you can see here, I only have one, but sometimes you have a lot of errors. And let me see, maybe the settings. No, the problem is I don't have now a lot of errors in my config files because I've actually made them really stable, so it usually works. As you can see here, I have just one suggestions. So you can press the open brackets and E to go to the next diagnostics, as you can see, and you will go to the next one. E, like that. And as you can see, if I now press space E, it will open this float and it will give me unused local lang. So this is an unused variable. And yeah. Then space Q. If you have a file where there are a lot of warnings and error, you can use space Q, and it will list all of the warnings and errors in here, and you can jump to them and press enter. And as you can see, it jumped to the right line where this warning or this information is located. And as you can see, also here I have the Vim key binding. So if I want to go to this, I press Control J. I can close it using Q, like that. As you can see. Alright. Now, there are some more key bindings, and these key bindings are specific to a language. So this is basically an onAttach method, and it attaches on the language server. So for example, I have here a Lua file open. If I now type lsp info, as you can see, we have to this client an attached language server, and it's called Sumeiko Lua. This is basically the Lua language server, and it will then put inside this client all these key bindings. It basically attaches this stuff to the client. So I actually want to open a Rust file, I guess, or a C file. Let's go with Rust. Do it like that. And let's see, for example, Flippy. And I have here a program, and for example I can now use GD, and GD means go to the declaration. So I have here, for example, my empty back. Now, of course, this is a small file. You know that it was declared over here. But if you had a big file, and sometimes it's pretty messy, you can type G capital E, and as you can see, it will go to the declaration of this variable. And GD is actually the same thing, but it's for definition. So there is a small difference between declaration and definition. But usually I use just the GD and not the G capital D, like that. And one very useful tool, especially in programming, is the Shift K tool. And what it does is it will give you a float which explains a certain method or a certain variable. So as you can see, we have here clear, and clears the vector, removing all values. So it just explains what this method does. As you can see, it shows the arguments it takes, it gives you an example, and this is really, really useful. And yeah, Also over here, as you can see, this is a variable I've declared. Then it just gives you the type. As you can see, this variable holds a type of vector with types I32 inside it. So don't worry too much about the Rust stuff in there, just that you know that you have this tool at hand if you need it. Alright, then GI for go to implementation. Now I don't use that a lot, so I can't tell you much about it. We have space VA, and then you can add a workspace folder like that. If I press enter and I type VL or space WV space WL, then it will open the workspaces you have done, and with space WR you can delete some of the workspaces you have. As you can see, I've deleted that and that, and now it's not currently part of the workspace. This is very useful if you have like a project and you want to have a workspace. You can use that. And type definition, so space D is type definition. I don't use that a lot, but as you can see, you then go, I'll show you again. I have here a variable, my empty vec, and I type space and capital D, space D. It has to be space capital D, like that, and then it will go to the type definition. So the type definition of this variable was a vector. As you can see, now we have the definition of a vector inside the language itself. So this is written by the Rust team, as you can see. So very useful. Like that. And also very useful, if I go to this variable, my empty vec, and I want to rename that variable. So I can change to end or change like that, give it a name, but I have now to change it here again, you know. And if you had a big file with a variable that you use a lot, you have to rename it manually all the time. And for this you can use the rename key binding. So you press space or N for rename, and as you can see, new name, and I will give it empty vec, like that. I press enter, and as you can see, in all instances it changed the name. Of course, here it was not a big deal because it's only 2 times and it's in the same place, but if you had a big file, this is very useful. And you have space EA, these are code actions. For example, here it gives you a suggestion, insert explicit type vec I32. So you know, you have here some suggestions, vec I32, and of course, as you can see, we have auto completion, so it gives you here from the LSPS server some of the suggestions. So vec I32, like that. All right, now what you also have is, for example, I made here some spaces and I press space F, it will format the file. Now I also have made it formatting on save. Show you that. As you can see, we have here in the LSP config, we have format on save. So if let me do it like that. If I, for example, do the same thing, I add some unnecessary spaces over here, or new lines basically, and I save the file. As you can see, it gets formatted automatically when I save the file. So this is also pretty useful. And yeah, but if you want to format it before saving, like that, as you can see, you just press space F and it will format the file. And maybe if you press comma NT for Neovim 3, it will open this instance of Neovim 3, and then you can basically just open another buffer. So I'll go to there, over here, and I will open this C file. Now I can open it using Control V. Control V will vertically split the already open buffer, as you can see. Or you can use X, Control X, and it will split it like that. Or you can just press open and it will open it in a new buffer. Now to close this Neovim 3, you just again press NT for Neovim 3, or comma NT, because this is my leader key. And then if I type ls, as you can see, I have two buffers open. Now you can use the telescope key binding, comma FE for find buffer. And as you can see, you have here the two buffers which are open. Now I press escape and I can switch between them. And as you can see, you have a nice file preview and you can switch between them like that. Alright. Now I think these were all the key bindings for the LSP. And of course we have here also for example, if I type something like that which doesn't make any sense, as you can see, it will give me a warning instantly like that. Alright, I think I've mentioned all I needed to mention. Maybe just really fast in my dot files. Neovim, as you can see, I've reorganized the config a little bit. So LSP config, I've made an own file for LSP Mason and LSP null ls. So these are own separated files. And you have over here the LSP servers, the key mappings, plugins, the scripts, my settings, setups, and Tree-Sitter has its own file. Now again, if you just want to take it, you can clone my repository. I've actually shown that in another video, but just to show you, you can grab that and go to your downloads folder, click clone, paste it over here. As you can see, now I have the dot files in here. Dot files, I cd into that, and as you can see, if you want to, you can just run the installer actually. Install.sh, and you can just install it automatically, and you will have all the new configuration files of mine over here. You will have it on your system inside your config files inside here. And by the way, just don't forget inside Neovim that you check that you run packer install, just so it installs all the necessary plugins and packer sync, like that. Right, you have to go actually like that, packer sync. And as you can see, it will synchronize all the packages. Like that, everything already up to date. Now, maybe just to show you, if you run the check health command, now let's see. This is the Neovim check health command, and it will just prove if everything is working fine inside Neovim, if everything is installed correctly. And as you can see, we have here everything should be okay. Failed to run health check for Mason plugin. Now this, I have to solve it. I didn't see it some days ago, so this seems to be new. Let's do it again. Check health. Alright, as you can see, everything is okay. Like that. So if you take my config files, you will have a working and a stable Neovim config, like that. Alright, I think that's all. I will keep you updated and see you next time.